Guys, thank you so much for bringing this channel up to 666 subscribers. That's honestly crazy. Think of a room. Put 666 people in it. Not gonna happen. You guys would be spilling out of the windows. I mean, I don't know what kind of room did you imagine? Mine has windows. Anyway, for such an evil achievement, let's make this video extra special. Let's take a look at some of the most evil video games of all time, starting with Resident Evil. Well, there's no way we couldn't do this one, so let's just get it out of the way. But I will have you guys know that we've got some really sick and twisted stuff to cover up after that. But to be fair, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I definitely remember being creeped out just by seeing the cover art of these Resident Evil games. And the marketing in those old gaming magazines, the marketing was freaky and grotesque, but not necessarily indicative to what the actual gameplay was anything like. The first Resident Evil released in 1996 on the PlayStation 1. For many people, this was probably the first, or at least one of the first, survival horror games that you played. For me, I started with 3, but of the original PlayStation trilogy, they do kind of all share the same basic gameplay. In these classic zombie shooters, you don't get much health, you don't get much ammo. Worst of all, you move around like a literal tank. These games were inspired by B horror movies with the awful acting and everything to go along with it. It takes place in this spooky mansion to explore, and as the outbreak spreads into the city, we are introduced to more characters and lore, and from there on, well, shit, I think we're up to Resident Evil 8 now? Right? Capcom has, of course, been remaking the entire series as well, and Resident Evil is great. I love Resident Evil, guys. I really want to check out the Resident Evil 4 remake, and I'm gonna. Next month, actually. While I attempted to play 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica as a kid, I wasn't particularly good at these games. With 4, though, they switched the camera perspective, the games got a little bit more action-y, and this is where I personally really fell in love with the series. And what's more evil than love? Anyway, there's no way you guys haven't heard of Resident Evil, but did you know in Japan it's called Biohazard? That's because in the United States there was already a game called Biohazard, so they had to rename it. And why Resident Evil? I think just because it sounded cool. Oh, you knew that too? That's okay, because we're just getting started here. So as a resident of Wisconsin, which is indeed quite an evil state, a few years ago I remember hearing a crazy story that was getting national attention from the media, and that is the Slender Man stabbing incident, where in Waukesha, Wisconsin, in 2014, two 12-year-old girls lured a friend of theirs into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. In the arms, legs, and torso with a 5-inch blade, and left her to die. This was a sacrifice for Slender Man. Now, thankfully, the victim miraculously did survive, and the two girls who committed this awful act have spent some time in jail, or either are in jail. They attempted to murder this poor young girl to appease the Slender Man character. And okay, I know that Slender Man is a creepypasta and not necessarily a video game character. It's this spooky guy in the woods who is freaky because he's skinny. I'm not really sure, but it's not really a video game, right? But there was a Slender Man video game that was released in 2012. So I think it's somewhat likely that these girls might have played this video game. Maybe this video game did influence these girls. That sounds pretty evil to me. Next up on our list of evil things is a game that I've never actually played, but it was somewhat infamous when I was like 12 or something like that. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but Postal. More specifically, Postal 2, which brought the series to a 3D open world. Think like the jump from GTA 2 to 3. Maybe. I wouldn't know. I didn't play this game. But you know that saying, going postal? Do people still say that? Basically, to go postal is to go crazy. But that is based on the rise of workplace shootings in the 80s and 90s, particularly of USPS workers. I imagine that automation has decreased a lot of these workplace incidents significantly. My mom actually used to work sorting mail at the post office, and over time, the process required less and less people to actually operate these machines and everything. She worked a lot of different positions over the years, and working whatever crazy hours in the night it took to keep a roof over our heads. But before she retired, which, are we still going to be able to do that? Well, regardless, before she retired, I'm glad she never decided to kill any of her coworkers. And guys, do you want to kill some of your coworkers? I know I do. But instead, would you consider smashing that like button instead of smashing the skull of Sarah's face? Sarah, I swear to God, the next time you tell me I need to mop in circles, the only circles you're going to be worried about are the swollen fucking circles that make up your face after Anyway, before she finally retired, she was working with customers. The last job that us humans will probably have left before they replace us all with even more automation. That's depressing. And evil. So let's continue. Lightning round for the next ones. Shout out to Star Wars KOTOR 1 and 2 for allowing their dark side characters to make some truly evil decisions. I could barely click through some of these choices without feeling kinda gross about myself. And I don't think there are very many other games I've played that have ever even come close. Maybe like Baldur's Gate 3 Dark Urge, but not quite. PT, this is a horror demo that you can't play unless you downloaded it to your PlayStation 4 during a certain time frame. Can you illegally obtain this game? I wouldn't know. Not into that kind of stuff. Anyway, it looked cool, and the most evil thing about this game is that you can't play it because it will never be a full game. Yandere Simulator, honorable mention because I don't really know much about this, but I've heard the creator is a disgusting person. Don't know too much of the details, but did I say Yandere? Did I say that right? Yandere is a Japanese term used to describe characters who are violently obsessed with their love interest. It's an interesting trope, but I'm more of a tsundere kind of guy. In this game, you're a high school student who stalks your love interest, and you have to kill everyone around them, but after like 10 years in development, it got canceled because the creator was a groomer. Why does this happen so much? Do I have to explain the rules one more time? It's half your age plus 7. But if she's 7 years old, well, they ought to be sending your ass to jail. Hatred was a game surrounded in controversy. Released in 2015, this adults-only rated shooter struggled to even get released due to its graphic nature. You play as a unnamed character with a Joker-esque hatred of society. Your goal is to take out all of New York and yourself as well in the process by blowing up a nuclear power plant, I think? I'm not sure just how edgy and dark the game actually is, but it looks like they take that shocking early 90s energy all the way to the max. But I'm not the kind of person that thinks we need to ban or even censor games like this. I just think that if your game is built upon concepts that I probably would have thought were cool when I was in middle school, but your game can't be sold in stores because it's too graphic to be sold to edgy 14-year-olds, well, I think you're failing at marketing, but I also think you deserve every right to see your game flop, and that's exactly what happened because I guess this game was just a trashy high school shooter simulator. Okay, let's end this list with another obvious one, and on the subject of censorship at that. Mortal Kombat! Who could have seen that one coming? This long-running fighting game series is a big part of why we even have the ESRB ratings in the United States. Finish him! Because of this game's extreme violence, children were going crazy in the 1990s, and I think all the violence, all these school shootings, it's all because of the media. The games are to blame, of course. The movies, that's to blame. Now, obviously, I don't mean that, but that was the running narrative at the time, thanks to the outrage of Catholic moms and confused grandparents. Well, because of that, now if you want to buy Grand Theft Auto 5, well, you better have an ID present. And, to be honest, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. But the narrative that was built around games like Mortal Kombat was that these violent video games, that's what's making people violent in real life. And I don't think there's any more truth to that than saying watching Power Rangers as a kid makes you a violent adult. In fact, I might even go as far as to say video game violence outrage, that outrage in the 90s, That might have been some actual propaganda to distract people from our real societal issues. The issues that make it so easy for kids to have access to guns in the first place. The issues concerning mental health. These real-life problems, but no, let's blame Mortal Kombat. Fun fact, in the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat, the blood was green because of the controversy around video game violence at the time. Oh, you knew that too? Alright guys, well, there's a lot more evil games out there, but that's all the time I have for this one. Did I miss anything good? Let me know in the comments. And if you guys like this one, look out for the 777 subscriber video where I will cover the luckiest games of all time.